Hey review family, keep it tight. My name is Jay Morse, the review guy, reviewing music for the love of music, and I'm back again to bring you another video. And in this one I'm going to be covering the new Code Orange album entitled Underneath. This is the fourth studio-length album by the Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania band Code Orange, who have had a phenomenally interesting and undeniably unique transformation in their sound throughout their discography that is very hard to be rivaled by many other modern metal bands. Starting off humbly as pretty much just a cut-and-dry metallic hardcore band or just a normal hardcore punk band, and quickly developing a sound that was more centric around metalcore, but with their last studio-length album, Forever, back in 2017, they were incorporating more industrial elements. And even at times, some of the rigid guitar playing on that record felt like nu metal. With that album, I remember people flipping the fuck out thinking that because they got signed to Roadrunner Records, they were gonna dull their sound. But with that being said, if you did not enjoy the industrial elements of Forever, I doubt you're going to enjoy Underneath that much. I personally really did enjoy those influences, but they really turn up that dial on Underneath, and that was evident from the single, the self-titled single. And honestly, I am perfectly fine with bands having influences. Most bands and artists do have influences. But on so many spots on this record, they really do bleed 9 Inch Nails. Literally down to some of the production and mixing on some of these tracks, to the way some of these glitchy embellishments will pop in on various tracks, these glitch bips and bops where they'll pause the beat just a little bit. That's extremely evident on the track Swallowing the Rabbit Hole, where you get the pauses in the instrumental where it repeats and cycles and just continues to go a couple of times. On first listen, I actually had to go back and make sure that something wasn't wrong with what I was listening to because it paused so abruptly and just repeated the same part. But surely enough, it wasn't. It was perfectly intentional, and it even carries over into the next track, In Fear, which has to be one of the most despondently horrific tracks that I have heard from a metal record in a hot minute. The glitches that are worked into this track are reminiscent of something that was on that Liturgy record that dropped last year. It's quite common, admittedly, to see metalcore bands playing around with symphonic elements and electronic elements, specifically in the more progressive metalcore and djent scene, but what Code Orange is doing here just sounds horrific. The way they are incorporating industrial elements and glitch elements into a very abrasive and hectic style of metalcore that is reminiscent of the very, very heavy 90s metalcore scene. We're talking bands like Converge and the Dillinger Escape Plan, which would come a little bit later in some of that mathcore scene, where everything just has this frantic, rushed energy to it, this very high energy performance, and it's really bolstered by the fact that they have these amazing cycling vocals that go from low to high to mid. And when Reba does vocals, she kills it, like on the track Underneath. And I know I've been talking a lot about the industrial and nu metal elements, but that's not all you're getting on this record and not all that I was hearing. I was hearing influences coming from groove metal and alternative metal and nu metal. I'm talking once again about the track Swallowing the Rabbit Hole. Some of these chunky, jump the fuck up riffs just sound so heavy that they remind me of like early Slipknot, or even something like what you could have gotten off of their last album, We Are Not Your Kind. And when you combine that with the strange way the vocals are handled from a production standpoint on this first leg of the album specifically, it makes it all sound like it is literally on edge of just bursting. In many ways, I like this just as much as Forever, a little bit more and a little bit less, all at the same time. Because take it from someone that literally listens to some of the most heavy, noisy, abrasive genres of heavy metal in the underground, sometimes this record can just feel like a little bit too much. Like the mix is just a little bit too compressed, like it's a little bit too dense. But with that being said, it never reaches a fever pitch, it never reaches a point where it just becomes unlistenable, it never becomes so noisy that it's just migraine inducing for the sake of being migraine inducing. It never reaches that crescendo, which I'm very grateful for, because for a record that is this heavy, it really shouldn't be unlistenable. I mean, hell, there are some riffs on this record that are just so distorted, so off kilter, so fast, so rough and buff. They remind me of a Nails record, and that's something I would have never thought I would have compared Code Orange to. They're just continuing their evolution, they're continuing to build on the stepping stones that their past albums did, and with that metallic hardcore edge, they're still incorporating all these different elements into their sound, and it's like with each album, their influences grow and grow and grow. And even though some of those 9 Inch Nails influences can feel a little bit derivative, like on the self-titled track, where it is completely evident to anyone that's listened to really any Nine Inch Nails that they have been doing their research, or at least were really heavily inspired by it. This album doesn't really have a strong flow to it for the most part. I mean, you can literally go from tracks like Who I Am to Cold Metal Place, which the former of which is just this funky, really odd, off the deep end type of rock ballad almost, and Cold Metal Place is just another blistering full throttle track. So in that regard, I don't think that this album has as much of a cohesive flow as Forever did, or even some of their other records. But otherwise, I am really enjoying this record. It's a super strong effort from the band. They kick ass and they continue kicking ass, and they remain to prove themselves to be one of the most interesting metal bands on the scene, one of the most eclectic metal bands on the scene, and the fact that they've been able to continue to gain more and more popularity in a metalcore field in the modern day that is mostly dominated by djent bands, progressive metalcore bands, and bands that are coming back with new metal. It's just really impressive and not that hard to see why. I guess I'd just like to see them build on being able to make a cohesive album and maybe take these influences and make it one solid beast from start to finish. Also, use Reba more. Use her more. She is amazing. I'm going to be giving this album a 7.5 out of 10. And that is a wrap. Have you heard of this new Code Orange record underneath? If you have, let me know in the comment section below what you thought about it. I would love to discuss your record with you. Be sure to like this video if you enjoyed it, subscribe to join the review family today, and smash that notification bell to be notified of my future uploads. You know who it is. My name is J Morris, the Review Guy, and I'm signing off saying farewell.